Good morning. Hey, Tyre, how you doing today? You know, every now and again you do something and you make a comment, and all of a sudden, for some reason, that comment strikes home. And everybody, hey, Retro, good morning. And everybody and their brother agrees with you. Nobody actually disagrees with you. And I've had that happen to me on another forum where my name as the Shroom, original Shroom, got banned because of a comment I made. And y'all can imagine what kind of comment I would make about to somebody that would cause me to get banned. Um, I've got a secondary account, completely different name, email, the whole nine yards. And I was watching a video and I made a comment, just off the cuff comment. And as of this happened yesterday afternoon, it immediately started blowing up. I every couple of seconds I was getting notifications. As of this morning, that singular comment has over 20,000 likes. And in the few minutes, and in the past 3, 4, 5 seconds now, it's gotten 7 more likes and comments. I'm sitting here going, wow. I mean, I had that one comment back during the Rittenhouse trial where I had a picture of Mr. Gage with his bicep blown off and picture of the pew pew in his hand. And underneath, I said, that's just not an ice cream cone in his hand. That was it. And that picture and that comment sort of blew up. A few thousand, I think I got like 11,000 likes on it and some bunch of comments, and that's like the pinnacle of my engagement that I've ever gotten. And then and the sad thing about it, Retro, it wasn't even under my name. It wasn't even under Shroom. It was under a made up name that I just made up so that I could stay on that platform because I got a 1 year suspension. Yes, a 1 year suspension. And I can't even take credit for it. That hurts. That hurts. Yeah, that Retro caffeine is one thing I don't need right now because let's see. Well, I've already been up 5 hours and I've had 6 cups of coffee, 16 ounces per cup since then. So I've had my morning fill of coffee. That's what, 72 ounces of coffee in the last 4 hours or the last five hours. So yeah, Oh, I got the dog is a he got up at 4 o'clock with me, and him and I went outside and played for a while. 4 o'clock in the morning was great playing, but damn, it was cold. It was 40 degrees out. Mm, that chilly. I had to come in and turn on the furnace. I mean, it was 68 degrees in the house, but coming in from 40 degrees outside, man, I needed to warm up. Yeah, I agree with you. But I've got the dog in the habit of when I get up in the morning, him and I go out and run around for a little bit. While he does the running, I just do throw the ball for him. That way he burns off some energy first thing in the morning, and gets his guts moving where he goes potty and everything. And it sounds like my wife just texted me. Yes, she did. Oh, well, let me answer this real quick. All right. I'm glad. Enjoying yourself. Miss you too. Love ya. Okay. There. Yeah, I don't text when she's out of town like this visiting her dad. I don't text her first in the morning because I don't want to. Well, let's see. I just got another 88 comments and likes on that post. This is outrageous. This is outrageous. I do not understand. Yeah, I just a little bit of witticism. Just a little bit of witticism. Something anybody could have said. Hey, morning, ramen. -4 right now. Ooh, that's too cold. Yeah, but unfortunately, ramen's not on the stream. Well, then this is not going to be depending on how worked up my blood pressure gets. I don't know how happy this stream's going to be. Um. Anyway, so that's the good news. Another little short article. Yesterday, Retro, you decided to piss me off with that gun story, the way they're treating veterans. The 140 Democrats coming after veterans' guns. Meanwhile, while that's going on, gun ban for illegal immigrants ruled unconstitutional. I found that article yesterday. So let's take a look at what the court ruling was. The Second Amendment protects people's ability to own a gun even if they've entered the country illegally. It does say the right of the people, it doesn't say the right of the citizen. Okay. That's a ruling handed down by U.S. District Judge Sharon Johnson Coleman on Friday. She found the federal prohibition on illegal immigrants owning guns is unconstitutional, at least applied to Herberto Carpane Flores. She ruled the ban did not fit with America's historical tradition of gun regulation as required under the Supreme Court's landmark New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin ruling. The non-citizen possession statute 18 USC 22G5 violates the Second Amendment as applied to Flores. Thus, the court grants Flores the motion to dismiss. The ruling is the latest fallout from the new standard for Second Amendment cases set in Bruin. Since the landmark case was decided in 22, a wide swath of state and federal gun restrictions have come under increased scrutiny in the courts. Among the most commonly recurring questions raised by the standard is who can be barred from owning guns, and Flores is among the case to determine whether the people who have entered the country legally are among them. Coleman, a Barack Obama appointee, found the gun ban for illegal immigrants was constitutional back in 2022. However, she agreed to reconsider the case in light of the rulings from the federal appeals courts in the Third and Seventh Circuit that question whether those convicted of nonviolent crimes can be permanently disarmed after the High Court handed down Bruin in 2022. She concluded that breaking misdemeanor immigration laws is not enough justification to strip somebody of their gun rights under the new test. All right. So here is the question. Does an illegal, somebody who has entered the country illegally, somebody who has so little regard for the United States as to not even to follow the very basic requirements to enter the country legally, are they protected by the Constitution? And if so, what protections do they have? Now then, going back to the very simple basic premise that if our government was doing their job in protecting our borders and removing those who illegally entered our country, perhaps this would not be a case. Perhaps if the idea that somebody entered our country was not merely a misdemeanor crime, but a felony, maybe that's what the route we need to go. Maybe we need to reevaluate the fact that a individual who enters the country illegally I'm going to get there, Retro. I'm going to get there. Maybe the fact that somebody who entered our country illegally ought to be considered a felon instead of misdemeanor. And then being as under normal circumstances, in order to purchase a firearm from an FFL, you must do a background check in all 50 states. Not private transfer. Okay. And then anybody who sells a firearm to an illegal, remember, it is illegal to sell a firearm to somebody that you are not that you do not that you have a question as to whether or not they are legally able to possess that firearm. So if they knew at the time that whoever sold him or gave him this firearm that he was in the country legally, and at that time he was illegally in possession of that firearm, the person that handed him that firearm, sold him that firearm, should be convicted of a crime of a minimum of straw purchase. I have zero, none regards for anybody who's in our country illegally. I don't care. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what sob story you have. I don't care what horrors or tortures or anything else you went through. There are so many ways to enter our country legally. You don't have to cross the border illegally to get here. It's that plain and simple. There are too many ways for a person to come to this country legally that if you really want to come here and you want to show respect to this country, the minimal amount of respect, okay? The lowest bar possible respect to this country. We hear women all the time when it comes to what men are supposed to do for them, you know, well, that's just the low bar. They met the low bar, you know. Yeah, they took us out to dinner. They bought us jewelry, and they spent $100 on our dinner, and they paid our gas bill. They paid our car payment. They paid our rent. But that's just the low bar. They met the low bar. Well, here's a low bar for you. If you want to enter our country, you do it legally. If you cannot meet that low bar, as easy as it is to enter our country legally, you don't deserve any of the protections of our Constitution, short of being given a green bologna sandwich and transportation back to the border. If you've overstayed your visa, hey, we'll give you a flight back to your home country. If you're here as a refugee because your country was in turmoil 20 years ago, it's time for you to ship your ass back to your country. You're a temporary refugee. Just because you've been here 20 years doesn't mean you get to stay here for the rest of your life. You've overstayed your welcome. And you're right, Retro. You can't do a background check on somebody who's here illegally. So, yeah, I'm hoping that this gets elevated up to the Supreme Court. I really do. Now, this is an Obama appointee. This is an Obama appointee. Do you think they honestly believe in the Second Amendment? Or was this ruling done as a backhanded swipe to those of us who believe in gun rights and the Second Amendment for American citizens? Hmm? You want people to have guns? Well, see how you feel about me giving illegals guns. Well, I've got a feeling it's more of that. I've got a feeling that this was a judge who's who used her power in an attempt to tweak noses. That's what I got a feeling this was. Because there's no damn way that she actually cares whether or not the Second Amendment is upheld. Not as an Obama appointee. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I seriously doubt it. But then I don't trust judges anymore. Okay, I just don't trust them. I I've been spending too much time the past few years, this past decade, reading judicial rulings and listening to court cases. Um, I just listened to a divorce case this morning. It, it, the and it wasn't a divorce case; it was a child uh, support check case. The the couple had been divorced for 6, 7 years, and in the child support, the the judge ruling that was that there was two children involved, and the judge and the child support ruling was that when any child reached the age of 18 or graduated high school, that's when child support ended. All right. So obviously there's an older child and a younger child. While the judge that was hearing the case initially said, well, she turned 18 in September, but she didn't graduate high school until the following May. Therefore, he owes child support until the following May. And it's like, no, wait a second. Wait, you sit here and read the decree, the child support ruling, it says turns 18 or graduates, not turns 18 and graduates. So on her 18th birthday, that should have been the end of the child support. But she'd turn around and the the kid turned around and screwed the mother out of the child support anyway because she dropped out of high school her senior year and before her 18th birthday even dropped out of high school. So she went homeschooling supposedly and got a GED. And the judge said, "Well, since she dropped out of high school, then yeah, on her 18th birthday, that's when the child support ended." But the judge was actually trying to push, uh, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8 more months of child support on the guy because he wanted him to pay child support up to graduation instead of her 18th birthday. Yeah, that. Yeah, she did drop out, Tyre. That was she screwed up and dropped out of high school, and that was the end of it. So uh, the judge he turned around though and he said, "Well, yeah, it's been 2 years now, and even though you've only got another 8 months until your youngest child turns 18, I'm going to order him to pay it. It worked out to like $1,000 a month child support for between child support and medical coverage and such. So he got put back on the hook for another $8,000 or whatever. So, but and then that was until that child's 18th birthday. That Tara, actually, your question, that was right there. She that was just one of the things that spun things around. But again, when a judge is obviously, he's sitting there the whole time. Oh, I really wish I could go back and give you all this, past couple of years back child support, but you never, this was the original ruling, and you waited until now to protest it. There's nothing I can do about it. So, but we've all read too many. Well, over the past 10 years, I've read what? Well, actually, it's been more than 10 years. God, it's been. I started reading court cases and such back in 1997, 96. Yeah, back in 96 is when I started reading court cases and following Supreme Court rulings and such, following them really close. So, and I've just lost all faith in judges and actually following the law for the most part. I mean, there's a few. While I don't always agree with them, Clarence Thomas, Alito, sometimes Roberts, I don't trust at all, just on the Supreme Court. Um, Damn it, now I can't remember his name. Uh, the Italian scores. Come on, okay, Retro, help me out. Tyre, help me out. The Italian judge that died down in Texas, and there was no investigation into his death. That scared me. There should have been a full blown autopsy and investigation into that death, not some just local yokel medical examiner. Uh, yeah, I think I think he was murdered, and they just did a hell of a job of covering it up. Okay, Red. All right. Supreme Court judge. Come on, not Ruth Bader. Come back here. Scalia. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. All right. That's back in 2016. He was found dead in Texas. And the local yokels, uh, they did the investigation. There was no real investigation into his death, not as far as I'm concerned. I honestly believe Scalia that there is something there to Scalia's death. I really and truly do. Yeah, retro. That's just it. They said he died. Boom. The local medical examiner. There was, handled it, and that was the end of it. There was there was nobody. No, I mean there was no investigation into his death. It's not like he was ailing and had known, not like he was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was known to be ailing, and people have been telling her that she needed to retire. Okay. He's out on vacation in Texas and all of a sudden ends up dead, found dead in his room. and I never did like that. I never did like that at all. But this was when uh, the Republicans held the Senate, and sore loser didn't get his nomination through, and Trump was able to nominate somebody to go into the place. That's just it, Tyre. That was there. There was very little done as far as his death went. Very little investigation from what I could see. So I don't have enough of the stuff open up now, and I definitely don't have enough tabs open to dig into. If y'all want me to dig into it some more, I will, and pull up the stuff from back then. But I don't remember any kind of real investigation into his death. It was just all done up and done. Oh, he's dead. Okay, let's find a replacement. So, all right, so let me close this tab. I literally, let's see, I've got 18 tabs open up here, and I can't wait to close some of them. Because it is just getting too much. Uh, oh, and just a something else that just recently happened. Okay, and I really wasn't aware of it until this morning that there is a proposal in the Senate to change again, and this looks like it has some umph behind it to change it from 40-hour work weeks down to 32. And of course, Bernie Sanders is one of the main proponents of it. And well, let me just let you hear Bernie's own that's not what I want. Here's there's the one I want. So let me share that, will you please? There we go. So make this up, and let me turn this volume down a little bit because it is kind of loud. All right. Now, remember at one time, old Bernie there, it wasn't billionaires, it was millionaires had to pay their fair share. But now he's got, it's just billionaires. And I like how he, picks up Mr. Bezos there, oh, okay, please tell me I didn't just break my computer. Please tell me my computer's still working, people. Is my computer still working? Can y'all hear me? Oh, oh my God, I just dropped my computer. Do, 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 do. I think I'm going to have to reboot because my screen is not showing anything. Let me see what I can do here. Damn, with all these tabs open, I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose these tabs, but I can't see anything worthwhile. Mm. The money I just paid to get this thing fixed. Okay, let me try this. Let me try this. Okay. All right. I think I see you guys now. Old man noise. Tyre, that was me talking to myself. No, I actually did chip the bezel on my screen, but I got everything. One nice thing about these Asus Republica gaming laptops is they sort of pop in and out, eh, or at least they're made for a little bit harder abuse. Anyway, okay, so you're saying there's no sound to Bernie Sanders' there screen. Let me try that again then, because I think I've still got it. Let me see if I still have that. And let me come and open this up on this tab. Thank you, Retro. Yes, my computer is working. All right. So I will try doing this again.
can I talk to you about the 32-hour work week? It seems like Fox Business. It seems like Democrats want business.
Okay, can you guys hear that now? Oh, you got an ROG desktop? Yeah. Uh, I do love the Asus ROGs. Okay, so let me go back to this. Let me back this up a little bit and let you. Okay, we'll listen to this again.
Work week. It seems like Fox Business. It seems like Democrats want businesses to be taxed more, pay their workers.
Really? Is that what you think?
pay their workers.
Excuse me.
I didn't get to ask a question.
Okay, thank you.
Senator,
You want to hold it? Okay.
Well, I tell you, Bernie is a crusty old bastard. If this was any Republican senator talking this way to a CNN reporter, that in itself would be news.
We held a hearing on a 32-hour work week because what we have seen is that over the last 50 years, despite a huge increase in worker productivity, almost all of the new wealth has gone to the top 1%, while 60% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck. Many of our people are exhausted. We work the longest hours of any people in the industrialized world. I think it's time for a shortened work week.
could I ask you a question about?
All right. So let's look at this. We work more hours than anybody else uh, in the world. Okay. Well, yeah, we do. As a whole, Americans who actually work do work 40-hour work weeks, some longer. I worked 70 and 80-hour work weeks for most of my adult life, even while I was active duty. For from the time I was in my late 20s till I turned 60 years old, I worked 70 to 80-hour work weeks, even longer some weeks. So yes, we do work long hours, but we also keep more of our pay than any other country does because we don't have the god awful tax rates that most other countries do.
That. It seems like Democrats want businesses to be taxed more,
Really? That's not my assumption.
pay their workers more, lower prices, and now pay people not to work.
You know what I would like to see?
How are businesses going to survive that? That's the question. How can businesses survive all of those proposals?
When Mr. Bezos pays an effective tax rate lower than the average worker, I think we have a real problem in our tax.
Mr. Bezos doesn't get a weekly paycheck either. His wealth is in stocks and bonds and everything else. Then he pays taxes when he cashes his stuff in. He doesn't pay standard income tax. He pays a capital wealth tax or a capital income tax.
System. I think that billionaires have got to start paying their fair share of taxes. Thank you.
And remember back when Bernie first started his, I believe people, it was millionaires and billionaires have to pay their fair share. And then old Bernie became a millionaire, and oops, now it's just billionaires. Tyre, he doesn't talk about the Japanese. He says Western. He doesn't include the Far East. Oh, really, retro? Do you think that will happen again? Do you think? Well, you think that the government that they'll come down and say, okay, everybody has to sell their gold back at this price, and that'll be the end of it? Mm-mm-mm-mm. I hadn't even thought of that nightmare happening again. Because hell, even I own some gold, not much, but been able to pick up some gold and silver here and there that I've got set aside. Again, like I said, not much. I mean, uh, I wish I was like I do know one gentleman that literally has pounds of gold, but a lot of it he panned himself. So when he took vacations, he would go out and spend a week panning gold. And he'd come back with a few ounces, 2, 3, 4 ounces of gold at a time. That adds up over the years. I saw one of the Republican Senate, one Republican Congress critters. I can't remember. I think he was talking to Jamie Raskin, so that put him in the House. Well, that would, and was it Raskin he was talking to? I want to say it was Raskin. Anyway, he borrowed somebody's half glass of tea, and he said, "You see this? Now, what happens if I pour?" And he filled up the glass with water and said, "Now we'll look at it. Do you know what happened there? I diluted that. And every time you guys vote, and every time it's voted on to add more money to the system, all you're doing is diluting the money that's already out there, making it worth even less." And the look on the Democrats' face, because that was as simple of a example as could be put out there that anybody and everybody could understand. The look on their face was sheer horror. The absolute look on their face. I don't know if I want to see the United States go to a 40-hour work week or a 32-hour work week. I don't know if I want to see that. Um, for the average business, I think that would be a killer. I really do think that would be an absolute killer for the average business. Because how are they to maintain? All right, let's say, like, all right, we've got 7 people to cover all of our shifts because we're a 24-hour operation. If we drop down to 32-hour work shifts, 32-hour shifts as a maximum without paying overtime, because that's what they would be saying is you have to pay overtime for anything over 32 hours. Then either we would have to stop going uh, paying over. We'd either have to stop having 24-hour operations, hire more people, and those people would probably, and some of those people would probably have to be part time, meaning they don't even get 32 hours a week, probably closer to 24. And if I, and, or pay everybody overtime, keep the same number of people, pay people 8 hours overtime every week, and in order to do that, there'd have to be a raise in hotel rates. Oh, you're right about that. I mean, uh, 40-hour paychecks are not. I mean, with the price of everything going up as they have been on 40 hours, you just can't. You can't do it. You just. I mean, a simple salad. And I'm not talking about buying the pre-made stuff. I'm talking about buying just the makings for salads, heads of lettuce, tomatoes, carrots. Fortunately, I make my own croutons. But just the makings of a simple salad is a killer. I mean, is a cost killer. Now, yeah, granted, I could eat the uh, $1 bag of pasta that you dump into a skillet and warm up. It's already cooked and in a bag in the freezer section. Eat that. But I mean, there's no healthiness to eating just a bag of pasta. Yeah, I definitely like radishes in my salads. I definitely like radishes in my salads. But I mean, just a simple basic salad is a butt killer. And I definitely can't do fast food. I cannot do fast food whatsoever. So I don't see how they can seriously speak about doing 32-hour work weeks and still have the American people be able to survive on that. All right. Now, for the last part, this last part is probably I want to go ahead and get started on what I put in my thumbnail. Okay, and it started that whole thing started with one article that I was reading this morning, and the one article that I read this morning uh, was about a where is it in Indiana. Let me share this article here. Share this screen. Indiana school district goes viral for telling a student to remove American flag on his truck, reverses decision. This is from this past month. This article here is from March 10th. So, that's just a couple of days old. Well, a week old. Talking about a high school senior who has this American flag attached to his truck, and the school told him he couldn't have it. But that reminded me a couple of other things. Now, I got thinking about going all the way back to 2010. Okay. On May 5th, 2010, Assistant Principal Miguel Rodriguez, keep that name in mind, Miguel Rodriguez of Live Oak High School in Morgan Hill, California, ordered several students wearing t shirts emblazoned with the American flag to turn them inside out or leave school. Rodriguez claimed he acted out of concern that Mexican students would react violently because the patriotic shirts were worn on the day the school was celebrating Cinco de Mayo, a Mexican holiday. Two of the students choose to leave rather than disrespect the American flag. Ironically, and to his credit and that of his parents, one of the students was of Mexican descent. This got upheld in the court system that it could be so offensive to the Mexican students that it could cause an irrational, violent outbreak that students in the United States wearing an American flag on their t-shirt would be the cause of violence. And it'd be violence that would be their fault for wearing the flag on their shirt. Because that would be so infuriating that you could not hold the Mexican students in the American school responsible for their actions. That was all the way back in 2010, 14 years ago. It went up through the ninth court, got approved up through the ninth court. And if I recall correctly, it got upheld in the Supreme Court. It just so think about that. The American flag could infuriate Mexican students in an American school to the point of violence, and they could not hold the Mexican students responsible for their outrage. That was that really. I mean, it doesn't seem like that was 14 years ago when that ruling happened. It really doesn't. And then, years go by, and then all of a sudden we have this. This was in just 3 years ago. A teacher by the name of Kristen Pritzen removed from her classroom the American flag. She just took it down. She made a TikTok about it. Ain't nobody not me. How you doing, my friend? Been a while. Anyway, this Kristen Pritzen, she decided to remove the American flag from her room because she found it offensive. But what she did put up was a pride flag in her room. And in this TikTok video she made, which has been since deleted, she was talking about how one of her students asked about, hey, when the school does the Pledge of Allegiance, where, we don't have an American flag in our classroom to swear, do the pledge to. She goes, "Oh, yeah, we have a flag." And then she pointed to her pride flag that she had hanging up. And she did a little giggle, and then that was the end of the video. Well, needless to say, that went over like a lead balloon. Um, and enough of the community still stood up, still had something there, and told her that, went to the school and complained. Well, she was removed from the classroom, and they put up an American flag again. So now we've got one school banning the American flag because it could cause people from other countries to get violent. We got another teacher here banning, taking down the American flag because, well, it makes her feel uncomfortable, but she's much more comfortable having her students doing a Pledge of Allegiance to the gay pride flag. The schools are, and then we have this school here that started all this morning in Bedford County, Indiana, telling him that he couldn't fly the flags in the back of his truck. Of course, the student refused. The school revoked his parking permit, told him that he could not drive his truck on the school property, which schools do have the right to revoke, to determine which vehicles are allowed to park in the school parking lot. So they banned it for the flag. But these are the same schools that let the BLM flag fly, that let the gay pride flag fly, that let the Mexican, the Ukrainian, the Pakistani flags fly. All right, because they want to show support for all these other organizations. Because they're misrepresented or underrepresented, or they're people who are been marginalized by the white colonializers. Well, I almost said that word right. The American flag is under attack by our school systems, by our teachers. Now, I don't want a law. I don't want it that you're required to fly the American flag from your house. That everybody's required to have an American flag. No, that's forced patriotism. That you can't force patriotism. Oh man, I wish I could remember which city it just was. One of them just passed an ordinance that the only flag that can fly from any governmental building inside of their community is the American flag. No other flags can fly. And you go, okay, that's pretty good. That sounds good thing. All right, that sounds like a good thing. But the reason why they passed that local ordinance wasn't because they didn't want all these other flags to fly. It's because they got notified that unless they flew the local church's Christian flag, they would be sued because they were flying all these other flags from city owned properties. So rather than saying, okay, yeah, you're right, if we're allowing all these other flags to fly, then during this, this time, I think it was over Easter, the church wanted to fly the Christian flag. The and the city turned them down. They said, well, we're going to sue you if you don't. The city passed an ordinance saying, okay, we don't fly any flags besides the American flag. So, you really would, it's the right thing done for the wrong reason. The right thing done for the wrong reason. And where are these people coming? Where are these ideas coming from? They're coming from the people in the schools. It's coming from what these people are taught. Chicago. And this is where, oh, these are some other articles I was wanting to talk out about. Where's this article at now? I'm opening up tabs here, trying to find this other article I wanted to talk about that was part of this mess. Uh, okay, that's not it. Where is it? That's not it either. Oh, don't tell me I've lost it. Here we go. Good God. I was hoping I hadn't lost this article because it was a pain in the butt to find to start with. All right. So going back to the schools. All right. Now this is an article out of Western Journal. Okay. Their bias is their bias. All right. So let me get this. Teachers Union held event straight out of Soviet playbook. Voting age students drafted for March on the Polls. It's a scary headline, right? And yes, it is a scary headline. Is it? And it is technically true. All right. But Chicago Teachers Union and its progressive allies recently geared up for an event designed to get students to the polls. The event was touted as a day of political engagement for the students, according to Illinois Policy, an organization advocating for civil and personal liberties. On Friday, the Chicago votes led the parade of CPS students, Chicago Public Schools students, to the polls as their answer to Bring Chicago Home debate. The youth vote could decide whether or not the referendum passes. The event was a partnership between the teachers union and a pro-tax hike progressive groups such as Bring Chicago Home, Chicago Votes, and La Casa Norte. CTU, Chicago's teachers union, was asking teachers and other members to organize voting age students to attend the day of political engagement. These are teachers, public employees who are planning who are telling the kids how to vote, not how to think about what to vote, how to critically think about the issues, but hey, we need you to come and vote for this, and we're going to get you to the voting places to do it. The Illinois policy caught wind of the event before it occurred and called it for what it was. The Chicago Teachers Union is planning to herd students to the polls to vote for Brandon Johnson's real estate tax hike. The event was scheduled for March 15th, just days before the March 19th vote, when Chicago Brandon Johnson's push for a real estate transfer tax hike would be on the ballot. Enlisting students for political advocacy may well violate the school district rules that are clear about students not being rounded up like cattle to attend political events during school hours. There's also a violation of the CPS Code of Ethics, which states plainly that employees are permitted to engage in political activity on a voluntary basis during non-work hours, vacation, or personal time. Employees are not permitted to engage in political activity during any other board compensated time. CPS Code of Ethics defines political activities preparing for, organizing, or participating in any political meeting, rally, or political demonstration or other political event. Now, they're voting today. The schools have been spending the past few months, and you know this. Come on, we all know this. The schools in Chicago, the teachers union, the teachers in Chicago, were getting all these kids hyped up to go vote for this. Now I'm going to go back to 1978. My high school, my senior year in high school. Now, my senior year, we were required to take one class as a full year long class in American government. 1978 was an election year. Okay. Come on, fingers work. All right, and let's see here. That was oh, come on, get real here. I'm sorry. 1978 was an election in the middle of Jimmy Carter's term. Democrats managed to retain the control of both houses of Congress, although they lost 3 seats in the Senate. All right. But they lost 15 seats, and in the House, they lost 15 seats. They had this, and our local school board. So while this wasn't a presidential election, this is my first election. And I remember, of course, being in our first election, our government class, we were spending a lot of time going over the issues. And there was some local issues up there, such as a hike in the millage rate to support the schools, which there seems to be every year, and a few other things. While we talked about the importance of the Senate and House elections, our teachers did not touch anything local. They didn't touch anything on the local elections. And they didn't talk about any politicians by name. They said, if Democrat, talked about what would happen in theory if the Democrats lost control of the House and Senate. What would happen in theory if they maintained control? This kind of stuff. But there was no push for either side. There was no push, nothing there saying that, trying to tell us who were newly minted voters which way we should vote. Oh, nobody. Same here, man. We nobody knew uh, uh, any of the politics. Well, let me rephrase that. Yes, we did have one teacher who got fired. This was our social studies teacher in middle school, and he got fired from the school. Um, so let's see. That was middle school. I was in seventh grade. So that 78, 74, 73, 72. So this has been about 1972. And he had all the boys wear pins with a said MCP on it with the pig's head. And we got asked what the MCP, we got home, got asked what the MCP stood for, and it was male chauvinist pig. He let all the female students determine what our grades, what everybody's grades would be on a test that we took. No, he didn't actually grade the test. We took the test, and then he asked the female students how many think the boys should get this grade on this test, how many think the girls should get this grade on this test, and that was what grade everybody got. So, but yeah, he ended up being fired that year over those two instances, or at least removed from teaching at the middle school. Oh yeah, tired. Yeah, we knew the only teachers I knew their first names was one of my aunts was a substitute teacher, and I actually had her as a substitute teacher for a couple of classes one year. And one of my aunts was married to the son of the principal of the school, and he was a vice principal in another school. So of course I knew his first name. But that was it. Yeah, we were not allowed to talk. Our teachers were not allowed to talk anything about politics. Why? Because it wasn't their job to tell us how to vote. Now, they may have hinted around, and being a dumbass 18-year-old, I didn't know any better. I mean, I've always have been fairly good. I've always been fairly gullible. I'm not always the gullible or naive, call it what you want. But for many, many years, and still somewhat to today, I take people at face value until they prove to me otherwise. And have I been burnt a few times by believing something that I shouldn't believe? Yeah. I've made a fool out of myself. I made a fool of myself on these streams over the past couple of years, believing something I shouldn't have believed. Had Dar or Ramen or somebody else come up to me afterwards, goes, yeah, a shroom, yeah, that's not what you thought it was. And I'm like, oh crap. Oh, you graduated in from Chicago there? Nobody? Wow. How did you survive? As long as we are allowing our teachers, our school systems, and parent, and this is where we during COVID we got a lot of power back to the parents because parents saw what teachers were teaching. Parents saw what was happening. And a lot of parents got upset and pushed back hard on it. That's Glenn Youngkin. That's how he got elected governor. Unfortunately, Americans are stupid people with short memories. And they think that, okay, yeah, we won the battle. No, we haven't won the battle. It's not over with. The schools are still corrupt. The schools are still trying to find ways, these teachers are still trying to find ways to uh, turn our students, our children, into their liberal philosophies that they were taught in colleges. You're absolutely right, Retro. There should be a camera with a microphone in every classroom. And a parent should be able to log on, not only a parent, but any citizen should be able to log on to that classroom and review what's being said. We should be able to review what the teachers are teaching, what source materials they're using. And the teachers sit there, well, if so, we've got to post this online, and that takes up so much time. Most of these teachers do their class. My wife does a class, she works with preschoolers. And her class outline's done on her laptop. She'll sit here at home. And that is, teachers don't do their class outline in pencil and paper anymore. They don't do it. Don't let them bullshit you into thinking they do it on pencil and paper and it's just too much work to transfer to a computer. That's nonsense. The schools have all this already done up. The paperwork are formatted and online, and teachers log on, do their stuff, save it. Then they print out what they need to print out. They won a few battles, but we're losing the war. The leftists started this back in the 50s with the takeover of the colleges. We've we've talked about this. This has been talked about now for the past 20 years. The leftists started off with the takeover of the colleges. Remember the free speech riots in Berkeley? And that was to allow the leftist teachers, the communist teachers in the colleges. Now, if you try to have a conservative speak at Berkeley, they threatened to burn the college down. Remember the Antifa riots? Remember, damn it, what's his name? Uh, oh man, I'm so embarrassed I can't remember his name now. Uh, no, the Jewish guy, retro. Daily Wire, I think. Yeah, Daily Wire. Ben Shapiro. Remember, Ben Shapiro was told that he would be arrested if he stepped onto a college campus. They had the sheriff there to arrest him if he took one step forward. Yeah, Ben Shapiro. They, all right. And that was because of the leftists threatening to protest and riot if he was allowed to speak at that campus. So the very same people who back in the 50s and 60s and 70s were protesting for the free speech to allow communists to get up there and talk are the same people now, or they're the people that they taught are now the ones writing to prevent conservatives from speaking. And this goes all the way down into our high schools, middle schools now. You know, last year or 2 years ago, man, my God, it could have been 2 years ago now. There was a gentleman representing school books that sat there and laughed at the fact that in Georgia that had a ban on CRT training. Goes, I've got the CRT training in my school books. I just call it something else. I just reworded it. And yeah, it's in all my books, and Georgia's going to buy them. And they're going to teach them in their classroom. It's CRT. I just changed the name. And he was bragging about it. You know, the schools today, you know, the teachers come to school with pink hair and in dresses. Male teachers come to school with pink hair and wearing a dress. They had the one up in Canada with the god awful 99.999-inch boobs, prosthetic boobs on, and was a wood shop instructor. And nobody could do anything about it. Because the schools, you know, well, you have to let the teachers come to the school as their authentic selves. You can't set a dress code for a teacher. You can't tell a male teacher they have to dress in a certain way and a female teacher they have to dress a certain way. You have to let them dress the way they want to dress. You think, and if y'all don't think this doesn't matter, these are the same people, and I'm coming back to the American flag. These are the same people who say that we can't fly the American flag because it represents racism, because it represents sexism, because it represents genocide of the Native Americans, because it represents the slavery, because it represents this, it represents that. But they want to fly the pride flag. They want to fly the BLM flag. They want to fly, the Ukrainian flag. They want to fly the Palestinian flags. They want to fly all these other flags in their classrooms, have them decorated like that. They want to wear earrings with them, they on them. These are, and these are the people that we want to teach our students, our children. These are the people that are out there that we're trusting our children to be taught by, to look at. I tell you, I had a few teachers I absolutely could not stand. I had a couple of teachers I didn't like. I had a couple of teachers that, looking back on, I wish I'd paid more attention in their class because while I didn't like their teaching style, the knowledge they had, I wish I would have paid more attention to. My English lit teacher. This man was the stereotypical English lit teacher. Boring as hell. When we did Anna Green Gables, my God. But the man, looking back on him now, or when we did La Morte d'Arthur, you know, the man was dry as hell in his teaching, but he was brilliant at the same time. Absolutely brilliant. And I wish I'd recognized that when I was a student. Recognize his brilliance, his depth of knowledge. He was way smarter than he should have been for a high school class. And he didn't get near the recognition he should have gotten, especially a farm based farmers community high school. Teaching a bunch of plowboys and girls. So he didn't get near the credit he should have gotten. And some of our other more popular teachers should never have been as popular as they were because they were the way they weren't as good of teachers as what we thought they were. We just liked them better. So, but this is where the parents should be stepping in and saying, this is what we are demanding from our teachers. We're demanding our teachers come to, first of all, a dress code for everybody in the school. Come on. How hard is it to say no gang logos? No, no logos on your shirts. Your pants have to be, you can't be wearing, uh, have your cleavage showing, your butt cheeks showing, or the crack of your ass showing. A basic dress code. Tell teachers they have to dress in a way that does not push any kind of agendas, political or otherwise. They can't push a social agenda. No unnatural, teachers can't have unnatural hair colors. And yes, pink and blue are unnatural hair colors. Nobody is born with pink hair. Wow, dyslexic math teacher. What a killer. What an absolute killer. I have a tendency to transpose numbers when I do and that's the bad thing about my job is 90% of my job is dealing with numbers. And I have a tendency to transpose them. But yeah, I mean, what are we doing here with our schools, ladies and gents? What are we doing? I know I'm shouting to the wind here. I'm that, I'm being that, you know, old man shaking his fist at the sky. I know it. I'm just not willing to write our school systems off yet. We got a new school superintendent in this year. I'm giving him this year to figure out, you know, to get his feet wet and see what he's going to be doing, how he's going to do. Next year, I'll start holding his feet. I'll take his wet feet and start holding them to the fire. But why can't we hold teachers to some sort of standards in their dress and conduct? Why can't we hold students to some sort of standards in their dress and conduct? Stop excusing kids for their actions. Stop excusing teachers for their actions. What one of my other conversations I've been getting into when it comes to these schools is whether or not teachers should be required to notify parents when their kids are coming to school changing clothes. And you know, a boy coming into school dressed one way, changing clothes, putting on makeup and a wig. Should the parent be notified? Well, first of all, it should be against school policy for that to happen. That should be a violation of the dress code. And second of all, hell yes, the parent needs to know because the parent needs to know that their child is screaming for attention and may need psychological help. Or an ass whipping, one or the other. Yeah, you're right. Nobody, woke school boards hire woke people. And that's where election seasons come around and we need to determine who and what we're going to vote for. And do we need to, and then that comes down to do we need to get rid of the NEA? Do we need to get rid of the national education? Get it out of the White House. Get it out of the federal government and leave it up to the states, the individual states to determine what their education standards are. Yes and no. I believe, it's a yet for me, it's a yes and no. Yes, we need to get them out of the federal government only because they've gone way too damned far. They've gone, all right. Should there be a national standard that the kids are taught to in school for reading and mathematics and the general sciences? Should there be a national standard? Should a 12th grader be able to read on a 12th grade level? Yes. Should they be able to do basic math? I'm not talking about doing algebraic formulas, trigonometry, calculus. Okay? Multiply, divide, add, and subtract. Basic mathematics. Yes. So at this point, I believe there needs to be a national standard. But it should be a standard that anybody can, that almost anybody with two working brain cells can meet. And that would still be able to function in our as a functional adult today. The days of people who are illiterate still being able to succeed on their own, while not totally gone, are greatly diminished. Yet you're going to have that occasional person, lightning in a bottle type thing, where somebody who cannot read and write and cannot do basic mathematics comes up with something that makes them a bloody fortune. But that's like the guy hitting the lottery. Okay, and yeah, I know you get some people they've hit the lottery twice in their lifetime. Exactly, not me. If you can't read a menu, life can get difficult very quickly. So, do I believe that there needs to be a national standard? Yes. But that is all it should be. A very basic. Can they read at a grade level to get by in today's society? Yes or no? Can they do basic mathematics? I'm not asking them to do quantum physics. Add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Basic mathematics. Yes or no? Do they know enough mathematics to keep a bank book or to figure out their finances? I'm not saying about doing their taxes. I'm just talking about I've got a paycheck of $500 take home pay, and I got these bills to pay. How much does that leave me over to do with other things with? Basic things. Can they read the basic instructions how to put together a a shelf unit for the laundry room? Well, yeah, home economics was a definite course that needed to be. I mean, we all took home economics in junior high school, boys and girls. We all learned how to operate a sewing machine. We all learned how to hand sew. We all learned how, like, boys and girls took woodworking class in middle school. Just very basic woodworking. I mean, everybody made a jewelry box. Everybody made napkin holders. Everybody made picture frames. Again, basic woodworking. Basically, so everybody was familiar with basic tools, how to use a hammer, nail punch, so on and so forth. But anyway, okay. So that I could continue going on with that, but I really don't want to. Let's see here. I'm trying to find something. Here's this isn't fun thing to talk about, but we need to. Uh, because again, I don't think this is getting the idea of this is not getting out there. We all heard that we talked about it last week that New York is bringing National Guard in to search the people and baggage on the subways. Well, now Chicago, the president of the Chicago Bus Driver Union wants to do the same thing by having the National Guard check the bags of passengers on Chicago buses. Do we want the military on our streets? The Democrats, remember, they didn't want the National Guard out on January 6th. Oh, no, no, no. We don't want the Guard out on January 6th. But now they want the National Guard searching everybody using public transportation, doing pat down checks and open your bags to get on school bus, to get on the buses and the subway. And they want to use the military to do it. This is what you would think that the Democrats would accuse the Republicans of wanting to do. Exactly. Using the guard. I mean, yesterday I was creeped out about this nonsense that my wife had to do and all these other people were doing to get on an airplane using facial recognition software to match the person staying there to their ID. Then having that guy tell me that they're uh, experimenting with upgrade versions of it, and I got thinking of uh, Babylon 5 and now I can't remember the name of that Schwarzenegger movie again, where he goes to Mars. Retro something or no, 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 no. Anyway, but he's going down the thing, and you see the skeletons walking. All of a sudden, red lights going off, and they're pinpointing a gun in somebody's suitcase. Total Recall. Thank you, Ramen. Okay, what you going to? Babylon 5 had something very similar to that in one of their episodes that I just watched, the one about the guy thinking he was King Arthur. But anyway, yeah. Why are we? Have we gotten to the point that we need to bring the military onto our streets in the cities? And the Democrats are the ones doing it? The Democrats are the one pushing for this? Chicago Transit Authority bus drivers are represented by the Amalgamated Transit Union 241. The president of 241 is Keith Hill, who said he would welcome National Guard members to help keep passengers and workers safe on Chicago buses. Hill added the police in Chicago have their hands tied with the rampant crime in the city, and additional support from the Illinois National Guard would make everybody feel safe. To hell with your rights. We want to make you feel safe. You want to make everybody feel safe, put everybody in jail. Hill points out that if he knows people bring weapons on Chicago buses, as many weapons have fallen out of passengers' bags while riding the bus, and some even leaving their weapons behind when they get off the bus. Citing the need for safety, Hill argued the bag check would only add a couple extra minutes to passengers' travel time. It would be worthwhile because it would allow everybody to reach their destination safely. The governor, Pritzker, has previously rebuked suggestions about bringing the National Guard into Chicago to deter crime, saying the National Guard members are trained for battlefield and are not police officers who are trained in crowd control. Chicago's Democrat Mayor Brandon Johnson has declined to comment. Do what ad? Oh, the Cremation Society ad? Or this one here where the woman's tearing her face off. So we've once again, the Democrats are doing what they accuse Republicans of wanting to do. Oh, that's true too, nobody. That is true too. Remember, the Guard is made up of volunteers. Nobody is forced to be a member of the Guard. And you want to see a bunch of people get out of the Guard? Watch them. Tell them they got to spend 30 days a year out patrolling the streets and looking through people's dirty underwear. Yeah, they're not going to like that idea whatsoever. All right, ladies and gents, that is about all I've got going on for today. As usual, even though the wife is gone, I still got, she did leave me that honeydew list of things that she'd like to see me have done by the time she gets back Friday night. So I've got about 4 more hours to get some stuff done today. But I want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to me ramble here about this nonsense today. Okay. Even if you were doing laundry and dishes and everything else while you're listening to me ramble, I do appreciate it. All right. I want y'all to have a good day and enjoy yourselves. Please be good to each other. Be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. Later.